Good morning. I'm Shaun Norris. I run cloud infrastructure services at Standard Chartered Bank in Singapore. We've been around for almost 165 years, so we predate things like electric lights and electricity, and definitely things like DevOps and cloud. We had about $14 billion in revenue in US dollars last year. We operate in over 60 countries, more than 9 million individual customers. We've got more than 1,000 applications in production. All the blue shaded areas you can see on this map are areas where we operate as a bank. Each of these countries have their own financial regulators, their own views on things like data sovereignty and cloud governance. Those 63 or so countries that we're in with regulations, we also have obviously a lot of internal compliance and policy. Our processes over time have grown organically to be optimized for compliance and not speed. Servers still take weeks to provision in our environment. While parts of the delivery chain are automated, a lot of it remains manual. We have this idea of a break glass mechanism for production. That if you want to do an operation in production, say there's a production incident going on and you need to SSH into a Linux server to maybe do some troubleshooting and remediation, you have to go through and unvault a privileged password. So you log who you are, what incident ticket you are, you go in and do your work and you save it in the change request and you revault the password. As if that wasn't enough, in order to make sure that you only did the things you were supposed to do with that privileged password, we have an extra component where we like this idea of maker-checker. In production, if you're doing a change, then you need to have your manager kind of sign off. So what that means in practicality is that after this change request is done and checked back in, your manager then has to watch a video of your entire screen session and then attest and sign off that you did the things you were supposed to do and you didn't do any of the things you weren't supposed to do. Effectively, at least doubling the amount of resource effort that goes into production changes. You might not be surprised that this process and this way of working is sometimes prone to delay. We've got recognition at all levels of our organization that we need to change the way we do technology. A junior engineer, about 2 years ago in the bank, said, I've heard of this thing called Rundeck, and I think we should start using it. So it was an unfunded project, and he really had no budget to do it. He didn't really have the organizational position to get it done, but he just kept at it, and he kind of got it through the bureaucracy to get it installed as a POC. And they started using it for things like service restarts and some failover type activities. Well, when I came in and started running the retail team, I said, well, we need some of this. We've now got to the point where we've run hundreds of thousands of Rundeck jobs. Really interesting from this, because we're using it for specific incident remediation. Say there's a service restart. Well, rather than having to go in and unvault a password and do that whole video watching story that I told you about earlier, now, because it's constrained and in version control and can be audited, we can pass that requirement because it's kind of a chain of custody thing. You know exactly what the script's going to do every time, and you can tell its provenance, etc. And so we've found TTR reduces by, on average, 25 minutes for apps where we're using Rundeck versus where we don't. That's really exciting. We think next year, Rundeck is probably going to save us about 28 people years worth of work at fairly conservative estimates, and we haven't even rolled it out particularly widely yet. This has been a huge win for us. I'd be happy to talk to anybody if you want to find out more about that. Our journey is really just getting started. It has no finish line, and it is going to continue. So I really like this as a metaphor for continuous improvement and continuous learning. Thank you very much.